Yo, 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 what's good, YouTube? What's good? It's Stormy B Man, and I am back, welcoming you to another edition of Historical Boxing Conversation with Scrapbook Boxing for this Thursday, June 23rd, 2022. And on this evening, we're going to hear a conversation from Scrapbook on Lewis versus Conn from June 18th, 1941. And as we get into that this evening, just want to let you all know that we would like you to smash the like button as you come into the building and sit back and enjoy some of this historical boxing conversation that Scrapbook has for you. Now, you all know that Scrap has a wonderful channel out there, and I would like to ask one of my wrenches if someone would be kind enough to go over to Scrapbook's page and copy the link for his page so you can drop it in the chat in case we have some people who been under a rock for the past 20 years or more, don't know about Scrapbook's channel, and they may be interested in taking a peek. So please do that. One of my wrenches, just take a quick moment out and go over to his page, copy his link, and drop it in the chat throughout the show so we can do that, because Scrap has got a great conversation for you this evening, and we're going to enjoy that without any interruption. We will acknowledge the chat as we get a moment to do so, but just know that this is a presentation that I assist with Scrap so he can do the talking and the sharing and the revisiting of the history, and I operate in the background with the production. So with no further ado, let me introduce the man of the show, Scrapbook Boxing. What's going on, Scrap? How you doing this evening?
I'm good, my brother Stormy. How you feeling, man? I hope things are well. Shout out to the chat. I don't want to thank them for coming this evening.
Yes, sir, man. I'm doing very well. Glad to be here, ready to receive some of this wonderful information that you got for us on this tremendous historical fight. A lot of people are not aware that, you know, sometimes when you get a chance to revisit history like this, Scrap, they don't think about, you know, how important it is just to go out there and take these gems in like you're able to present them, you know. So we really appreciate what you do.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. We're going to be talking about Billy Conn and Joe Louis. I'm going to take you on a ride that led up to that fight and why that fight was so significant. Now, we got this request last week on Turning the Page with Stormy B Man, and it was a gentleman who suggested that. And Stormy and I realized we never covered Billy Conn and Joe Louis. So I said, let's do it on my show. The show was scheduled for Tuesday, but we made it on Thursday. And because we made you wait 2 extra days, I'm going to give you a little bit more information. So I hope you're ready for this information. So Stormy, let me know when you're ready for me to go, brother.
You can go right now, brother. You can go right now.
Wonderful. We talked often, and I always said that 1938 was a very special year for black fighters because Henry Armstrong would become a 3-time world champion. He was a featherweight, welterweight, and lightweight champion. Then in the light heavyweight division, you would have John Henry Lewis. And Joe Louis would become the heavyweight champion in 1937. But in 1938 was a very special year because not only did you have 3 black fighters who would hold the featherweight, the lightweight, the welterweight, the light heavyweight, and the heavyweight champion, but Joe Louis had a score to settle. And it couldn't have come at a more appropriate moment. See, the Brown Bomber, Joe Louis, would make his comeback victory over Black Hewlin, Max Schmeling, June 22nd, 1938. It was at the New York Yankee Stadium. Joe Louis weighed 198 3/4 pounds, and Max Schmeling weighed 193 pounds. And it was close to 80,000 screaming spectators that showed up in Yankee Stadium that particular evening. And it turned out to be a 1-round knockout. 2 minutes and 4 seconds and the fight was over. The referee was Arthur Donovan. He was told by the New York SAC, you do not stop this fight unless there's a complete, clean knockout, because it could start a war. Because Maximilian was from Germany, and Joe Louis was from America. Well, after Joe Louis would get rid of Maximilian, he has been inherited as a new face of boxing. And it turns out he was a black fighter, the second black heavyweight champion in boxing history. What made it more interesting, the world light heavyweight champion, John Henry Lewis, was the second black light heavyweight champion. But he was the first American light heavyweight champion. Balansiki in 1922, when he would knock out George Compartier, was the first black light heavyweight champion, but he was from Africa. So John Henry Lewis was the first black American light heavyweight champion. And John Henry Lewis would defeat Bob Olin on a Halloween night, October 31st, 1935, at the arena in St. Louis. He stood 5'11" and he weighed 168 to 178 pounds. He was born May 1st, 1914 in Los Angeles, California. He died April 18th, 1974. He was 59 years of age at the time of his death. And he would reside in Berkeley, California. He had a record of 117 total bouts, 101 wins, 58 knockouts, 11 losses, and 5 draws. He became the world light heavyweight champion when he defeated Bob Olin. It was for the New York Sack and the NBA light heavyweight champion. Now, Bob Olin was a former Wall Street business executive. He lost his job, Stocks and Money, in 1929, when the stock market would crash. John Henry Lewis would face James Braddock, Maxie Rosenblum, Tiger Jack Fox, and Len Harvey. On July 28, 1938, the New York Sack was stripped John Henry Lewis for not facing Tiger Jack Fox. And he was unable to face Tiger Jack Fox due to failing an eye examination from his own private physician. Word would get out to the physician of the New York Sack, and that physician would give a recommendation that John Henry Lewis no longer fight. For auction. And Billy Conn would pick up that title and unify it with Milo Patina. And what was interesting about this particular match?
Hey, Scrap, let me I'm sorry to interrupt for a brief moment.
Yes, sir.
There's a couple of messages in the chat that's saying that they're having a little bit of trouble hearing you. Can we get you to raise your audio up just a little bit? I'm gonna put my microphone closer to you, to the laptop.
Try now.
Okay, go ahead. Say something so they can hear it. Testing. Let us know if you can hear Scrap now. Say some things, Scrap.
Yeah, can you guys hear me now? I'm talking about Billy Conn and Milo Patina. Can you hear me now? I'm talking about Billy Conn and Milo Patina.
Yeah, they're saying audio's good now. A couple people saying audio's good now. Yeah.
Okay, I'm not sure when they last heard me. Do you want me to start from the very beginning, or should I continue?
Not from the very beginning, but when you were getting ready to start about Conn, just kind of like, review that part.
Okay, no problem. So what had happened is Tiger Jack Fox had faced Milo Patina 15 rounds, and Milo Patina would defeat Tiger Jack Fox. That happened because John Henry Lewis had failed an eye examination test, so they stripped him from his New York SAC light heavyweight championship crown. So when they did that, the title went vacant. And that's when Milo Patina grabbed the title, but he had to face Tiger Jack Fox because Tiger Jack Fox was the original he was supposed to be the fighter that John Henry Lewis was supposed to fight. He was his mandatory. So Tiger Jack Fox would wind up losing to Milo Patina, and now Milo Patina would become the New York SAC light heavyweight champion. Meanwhile, you had former middleweight contender Billy Conn. He had a record of 57 total bouts, 47 wins, 9 losses, and 1 draw. And Conn would face his welterweight and middleweight contemporaries. And I had mentioned Vince Dundee and Eddie Babe Briscoe, Fritzy Zivic, Young Corbett III, Uros, Oscar Rankins, Charlie Krieger, Fred Apostoli, and Gus Ferraggio. July 15, 1938, the New York Madison Square Garden, Billy Conn would take on Milo Patina, and he would unify the New York SAC and the NBA light heavyweight championship crown. And what I was explaining was interesting is that Billy Conn basically came out of nowhere. He had lost to Sully Krieger, and Ezra Charles was knocking on the door, in 1940, trying to get a shot with Billy Conn, but Billy Conn ignored him. And unfortunately for Ezra Charles, he didn't get that opportunity, and that's why Billy Conn got that shot with Joe Louis. So Billy Conn began calling out Joe Louis, and Joe Louis, he didn't really want to fight Billy Conn. Billy Conn was a light heavyweight. He felt that there was opportunity as Charles and Jersey Joe Walcott and many others, but the establishment had full control over Joe Louis's career. And they made sure that there was a group of white fighters that Joe Louis would have to fight because a lot of those managers owed each other's debts. So that's how Billy Conn basically got the fight. Now, November 17th, 1939, Conn takes on Gus Lasnovich, New York's Madison Square Garden, 15 rounds, and he scored a unanimous decision. After 3 more title defenses, he would face Bob Pastor and Lee Savoy. Joe Louis continued with his Bum Month Club. And that particular title for that, it was basically he would fight every month for 6 months, 6 different opponents in 6 different states. And Jack Miley had named it that because a lot of these fighters were not known to the general public. But Joe Louis was staying active, and he wanted to make sure that he gave a lot of fighters opportunities. What really happened, a lot of those managers were owed debts from Mike Jacobs, so their fighters got opportunities when some of the mainstream black fighters did not. And a two-ton Talento, June 10th, 1939, was one of the fighters. He fought him in New York's Yankee Stadium, and he stopped him in 4 rounds when he was dropped himself 1 round previous in the 3rd round. He would knock out two-ton Tony Galento with a vicious left hook. And Tony Galento was part of the Bum of the Month Club. He would also face fighters such as Bob Pastor, September 20th, 1939. Johnny Paycheck, March 20th, 1940. He would knock him out 2 rounds. Arturo Godoy, June 20th, 1940. He would knock him out in 8 rounds. Abe Simon, he would knock him out March 29th, 1941. And he went on and on and on fighting these fighters until he got to Billy Conn. So Billy Conn would meet up with Joe Louis. That would be $153,905 that was paid towards ticket sales. It would be Joe Louis's 18th title defense. And Joe Louis would earn so much money by fighting Billy Conn than he would have anybody else. And you had a sports writer by the name of Grantland Rice. He was a very famous sport writer. He came up with the saying, it's not whether you win or lose, but it's how you play the game. He was a sports writer for the Herald Tribune and the Nashville, Tennessee Daily News, the New York Tribune. Joe Louis also had another sports writer in his camp. His name was Jimmy Cannon. And he had the famous quote, Joe Louis is the credit of his race, the human race. Setting up for this fight, the referee, his name was Eddie Joseph, counts out Joe Louis and Billy Conn, 2 minutes, 58 seconds of the 13th round, in front of 56,763 spectators. Now, Joe Louis weighed 199.5 pounds, Billy Conn 174. That's not the case. Joe Louis was originally 204 pounds, and Billy Conn weighed 169 pounds. But they had to change those weights for the press. June 18th, 1941, New York's Polo Ground. Billy Conn was a 7-1 underdog. And it was one of the most anticipating fights that you can have. Billy Conn had a mouth on him, and he was calling Joe Louis everything but under the sun. And what was interesting about this particular fight, one of the greatest radio commentators will be a part of this event. His name was Don Dunphy, who was born July 5th, 1908, and died July 22nd, 1998. He was 90 years of age at the time of his death, and he would reside at the cemetery of Holly. I had the pleasure of meeting Don Dunphy probably 50 times. And Don Dunphy was a stand-up individual. He knew his boxing. He could recall all the fights that he would call. And he called over 2,000 of them. He did examples of fights that he called with Emo Griffith and Dick Tiger in 1970. Joe Louis and Billy Conn in 1941. Sugar Ray Leonard and Thomas Hearns in 1981. Joe Frazier, Muhammad Ali, March 8th, 1971. A brilliant mind and a man who knew his game, Don Dunphy, R.I.P. to him. And I want an opportunity for Stormy to show this fight that happened in 1941. Why this fight was important? Because it was right before the war. And a lot of these titles would go frozen once the war started. And Joe Louis had multiple fights in 1941. Take on Buddy Bear. And he would earn $36,866. It was in Washington, D.C. And with Billy Conn, $153,905 at the New York Polo Grounds. What a remarkable fight this turned out to be. And Stormy B, man, if you have this fight queued up, I'm sure the audience wouldn't mind.
Yes, sir.
Taking a look at it.
Yes, sir. And I just want to say salute to Drew Titan LLC out there, our brother in the super chat. He says class is in session. Appreciate you, Drew, man. Thank you for your support there. And we will get right down into it as we present Louis versus Conn 1 from June 18th, 1941. We have video but no audio there, Scrap. That's so, for copyright reasons. So we'll give it a chance for you to share, your sentiments. And like I said, I will back you up on this. You know what I mean? But I would really like you to, tell us exactly how you're seeing it. Yeah. That's the thing. If we play Don Dunphy, then they'll snatch us off the air,
Absolutely. Now, there's a time delay, obviously, so I'm going to be as precise as I possibly can. But with Billy Conn was originally a middleweight, and he would wind up becoming a light heavyweight because, to be honest with you, Archie Moore was on his heels. And he moved up to the light heavyweight division and immediately got a shot at the vacant NBA light heavyweight championship crown when John Henry Lewis would retire. And that opportunity should have gone to Archie Moore, but it went to Billy Conn. So here we are, 1941, New York's Polo Grounds. Polo Grounds is located on 155th Street. Drew Titan knows exactly where that is. And it's where Giant Stadium used to be before they moved to Los Angeles. But they moved that building over to a place called, it's on Route 3, and it's in New Jersey. And it's called Rutherford, New Jersey. That's where Giant Stadium is today. But that's where the stadium was. It was in the New York Polo Grounds. And the Polo Grounds had so many great fights. But this was a magnificent fight, a magnificent fight. And like I said, Billy Conn was a light heavyweight. And he moved up to the heavyweight division to take on Joe Louis. Now, I'm looking at Joe Louis and Billy Conn right now. I'm sure you're ahead of me a few seconds. Right now, Billy Conn almost slipped. He's moving from side to side. Joe Louis pops the jab. He's stalking Billy Conn because he understands that Billy Conn is trying to keep him at bay. The problem Billy Conn is having right now, he has nervous energy because he understands that he really doesn't belong in there with Joe Louis. But Joe Louis right now is just stalking Billy Conn. He's a little robotic right now. What he should be doing is cutting the ring off instead of following him, and he should double up on his jab. That will stop the time of Billy Conn. So Billy Conn keeps up his right hand, and he keeps the left jab in the face of Joe Louis. Right now, he slips on the floor. Referee Eddie Joseph sends Joe Louis to a neutral corner. Joe Louis does not go to a neutral corner. He gets right back to Billy Conn. He realized that Billy Conn is consistently mobile, and it's going to give him a little bit of a problem because Billy Conn is moving from side to side. On my end, the round is over. I'm looking at round 2 right now on my end. Joe Louis gets up. He goes right to Billy Conn. Billy Conn repeats round 1. He moves from side to side. And right now, Joe Louis has Billy Conn in front of him. But Joe Louis, for some reason, he is not putting the pressure on Billy Conn as he should. He hits Billy Conn with a body shot. He comes up with a left hook. And Billy Conn responds with the left jab as he should. He's bouncing around a little too much as far as I am concerned. However, Joe Louis should be shuffling as he is doing, and popping a jab with a 1-2 combination and left hook as he just did. Now, Joe Louis stabs Billy Conn with the right hook to the body. Comes over with the left hook to the head. And he stalks his man. He should be applying a little bit more pressure to Billy Conn. Billy Conn is more afraid of him than Joe Louis is confused with Billy Conn. Beautiful 1-2 combination. And Billy Conn tries to hold on. Oh, beautiful combination by Joe Louis. Now, Joe Louis is up against the ropes. He gets off the ropes as he should as champion, and he should continue throwing punches to the body. They said before the fight that Billy Conn would be moving all night. Joe Louis said, famously, he can run, but he can't hide. Right now, Joe Louis is digging to the body. He comes up to the head, and he goes back down to the body. Billy Conn holds on to Joe Louis. Referee Eddie Joseph breaks them up. On my end, I see Joe Louis constantly pressing the attack. He is stalking Billy Conn. Billy Conn holds on to Joe Louis. And as he breaks away with the left hook. The round is over. As we begin round 3, Joe Louis comes out with his hands up as he should. He should be popping a jab. He is now following Billy Conn. He reduced his punching output. That should not happen. He should consistently press Billy Conn. Billy Conn is moving from side to side and he's jumping up and down. I guess this is giving a little bit of a problem to Joe Louis. Joe Louis leaps in with a left hook and he stabs him in the pit of the stomach with the right hand. Beautiful left hook combination from Billy Conn. Now Billy Conn is stabbing the jab in Joe Louis's face. Joe Louis now ties up Billy Conn. Billy Conn shoots a right hand lead. Joe Louis moves inside of Billy Conn's right hand. Billy Conn is causing feints and causing Joe Louis to react. This becomes a problem when that happens to a fighter, because he's now reacting off of another fighter. Joe Louis should be dictating the pace and the tempo of the fight. The round is now over.
Do you think, Scrap, that Joe was entering this fight thinking like he's such a smaller guy, you know, he's kind of like taking him a little bit for granted?
Yes, Joe Louis didn't train for this fight. He was fighting once a month, is what he was doing. And he was on tour, and Joe Louis was everywhere. He was in clubs, and he was making appearances at different affairs, and he didn't take Billy Conn as seriously as he should have. And as regardless of how good of a fighter you are, if you don't prepare for each man that you're in the ring with, this can happen to you. And it normally happens with an underdog. Billy Conn was a 7-1 underdog in this fight. Now, Billy Conn is rather pushing Joe Louis. Referee Eddie Joseph does not warn Billy Conn. But Joe Louis is supposed to take matters into his own hands, and he's having difficulty doing so. And once you let a man get brave, he starts to try and handle you the way he wants to handle you. Joe Louis needs to cut off the ring, he needs to pop the jab and move in at the same time. The round is over. Now when Joe Louis meets Billy Conn in the middle of the ring, he stops. He's supposed to consistently move forward and pressure his man all around that ring and cut the ring off. Joe Louis's timing is completely off. You can see he has not been training for this fight. Oh, beautiful right hand stab by Joe Louis with Conn against the ropes. Now right here, when Billy Conn leaps in with that left jab, Joe Louis is supposed to double up with his right hand. Right now, he should be jabbing Billy Conn. There should be no lull in the action. Billy Conn is the smaller man. Right now, he should right in on Billy Conn and open up with combinations. Oh, beautiful right hand. Oh, beautiful combination by Joe Louis. This is what should be happening all night long.
Yeah, those body punches made Conn rethink everything.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Now, Billy Conn comes out for the following round. I'm not sure I'm in sync with you, but what I'm looking at, Joe Louis is stalking Billy Conn. He throws a right-hand lead. He should not do that. He is not a boxer. He is a stalker. So he should shuffle behind the rhythm of Billy Conn, double up with his jab, and come back with a right hand. Follow up with a left hook. That should be his combination punch. The round is over. We're beginning round 7. Joe Louis comes out, and once again, he meets Billy Conn in the middle of the ring. He should not do that. He should pressure Billy Conn consistently. And you do that by doubling up on the jab and following with a straight right hand. Slip and slide and consistently put pressure on your man. Right now, you got him in the corner. He needs to stay there. And Billy Conn finds a back door. Billy Conn leaps in with a left hook. That should not happen. It won't happen if Joe Louis doubles up with the left jab. That would never happen. Oh, beautiful body punching thrown by Joe Louis. Oh, beautiful punch by Billy Conn. A counter left hook up top. Right now, Joe Louis should not be allowing himself to be wrestled by Billy Conn. He should be putting his arms in and throwing shoe shine combinations on the inside. Right now, he should be jabbing Billy Conn. The round is over. So right now, I have Billy Conn ahead on this fight. And he's winning on ring generalship. Right now, Joe Louis, who is the champion, is not dictating the pace of this fight. And this is why you give the round to Billy Conn. Right now, Joe Louis should shoe shine and come back with a left hook. Should end his combination with a left hook. Again, Joe Louis is supposed to be pressuring Billy Conn. Billy Conn has no business standing in front of Joe Louis like this. Okay, beautiful inside body work by Joe Louis. Now, Billy Conn snuck in a left hook at the end of round 8. So you give that round to Billy Conn. Right now, Joe Louis is allowing Billy Conn to set the pace of this fight. He is letting Billy Conn get off. He is not supposed to do that. This is why Billy Conn is standing there, because when the fight started, he started out boxing and moving from side to side. He's gotten brave at this point, and he's opened up with combinations. This should not happen. Now, what Joe Louis is trying to do, he's trying to catch a fight in midair. That's what he's trying to do, Billy Conn. He's waiting for the right opening. That opening will not come. He has to create the opening. I'm sorry, Stormy.
No, you're good.
And so right now, the round is over. As he goes back to his corner, we're beginning round 8. Joe Louis comes out. Joe Louis is supposed to go right to Billy Conn in a straight line. And he's supposed to take him to the corner or to the ropes. He is not allowing that to happen. He is following the pace of Billy Conn. Now he keeps his gloves off. He's parrying punches. Anytime you miss a man, make a man miss, you have to make him pay. Beautiful dig with the left hand from Joe Louis. Right now, he has him on the side of the ropes, and now he let him out. And the way Joe Louis is fighting Stormy and Chad, it seems to me that Joe Louis is trying to carry Billy Conn for whatever reason, but at the same time, he is having some difficulty, if that makes sense.
Yes.
Because when he has opportunity, he is not opening up.
Salute to KG84 out there in that super chat. He says, appreciate you, gentlemen. Something for the collection plate. Thank you so much there, KG84. Thank you.
Yeah. Shout out to KG84. Now, right now, Joe Louis has Billy Conn. Well, he had him up against the ropes. Now they're in the center of the ring. If you're in the center of the ring and you're Joe Louis, you have to drop your hands on the inside and shoe shine up top and finish your combination with the left hook. Now, Joe Louis comes to beautiful. He comes to the middle of the ring and he's ready to fight. Now he has to press forward. He has to double up on his jab and step over and cut off the ring of Billy Conn, make him go the opposite way. Should not be wrestling with Billy Conn. All he needs to do is throw body punches at Billy Conn, come up top. Body punches come up top. And when Billy Conn gets away from him, double up on the jab, bring him to the ropes or the corner, and then open up on him. That's all Joe Louis needs to do right now. He's allowing Billy Conn to open up on him.
Man, has Conn got brave in this round.
Yes, he has. He's allowed to do so. And like I said, Stormy, in my opinion, I think Joe Louis is carrying Billy Conn. He is having difficulty, yes, but he's carrying Billy Conn because he is not opening up with combinations. Joe Louis is a very, very hard puncher, and he has fast hands. And even if you're not training during the course of this fight, you still have those tools. And you see, he's just stalking. He's just basically letting the minutes go by. And he's tapping Billy Conn, because if he wasn't tapping him, Billy Conn would be shot by now. Now, what it appears to me right now, it looks like he wants Billy Conn to get comfortable in there, stay close to him, and he'll find his shots as the rounds go on. But right now, Joe Louis is opening up with body punches. Billy Conn is opening up with Joe Louis. He hits him with a double left hook up top, and Joe Louis is holding on. Right now, Joe Louis is a little bit surprised. This reminds me of Stanley Ketchum and Jack Johnson, 1910. Oh, beautiful left hooks. Round is over. Now, right now, they're telling Billy Conn, I need you to relax. You're doing fine. Don't get into exchange with this man. But Billy Conn right now, who is hot-headed to begin with, feels very comfortable in his fight. Look at this combination. Oh! Caught him right in the point of the chin. Now, Stormy, are they fighting right now? Is the round over?
This is replay, showing the replay between the rounds.
Okay, so we're on the, okay, so we're tuned together, okay. Now we're at round 13, right?
Yeah.
Beautiful. All right, so this is the round. So Joe Louis right now is starting to stalk Billy Conn a little bit more. If you look at the combinations that Joe Louis would begin to throw, he got his combinations from a fighter who's a Black Murderers Row member. His name is Holman Williams, who is on this card. Holman Williams fought a 6-round fight with a fighter by the name of Antonio Fernandez on this card. But he learned the tricks of the trade from Holman Williams. And you're going to see the combination that was taught to him on the heavy bag by Holman Williams in Brewster Center in Detroit. And by the way, Holman Williams taught this combination to Joe Louis in 1933. Now, right now, Joe Louis is he's looking pretty good. Now, he just dropped a 1-2 punch combination. Billy Conn is hurt. Now you see Joe Louis starting to move in on him, and he's throwing up with the combinations. These are part of the combinations that you're going to witness that takes out Billy Conn that was taught to him by Holman Williams. This is the mistake Billy Conn is making. He is trying to open up on Joe Louis. Meanwhile, he's a little stunned right now. Now, this is the point of the action, Stormy, that we always talk about. At this point of the action, this is when you punch with your man, because he's right there and he's open to be hit. When a man is throwing combinations at you. Oh! Full right hand. Now this man is hurt. Now Joe Louis has to take his time and he has to set the combination up. Let it come naturally. Oh, beautiful uppercut by Joe Louis. Billy Conn is what we call now in no man's land. Beautiful right hand by Joe Louis. He's going to hit him with another uppercut. Now Conn takes a step back. He is stunned.
Joe's punches are so short.
Now watch the combination. 1-2 combination. Now watch how he opens up on this man. Right hook to the body. Up top. He's going to come with a right left hook combination. Beautiful uppercut. Oh, beautiful uppercut. That's the combination on the heavy bag. And this man is gone. Because he hit him in all the vital areas. Caught him in the floating rib, the durameus muscle, and the mandibular. Now he's standing there, but it's nothing he can do right now. Couldn't defend himself. But that was a beautiful combination thrown by Joe Louis. Look at this combination once again. Under the heart. Comes right up to the chin and hits the durameus muscle on the side of the mandibular bone. Oh, beautiful combination that was thrown by Joe Louis. And this is a beautiful radio call and a great job done by Don Dunphy. This is Joe Louis's 18th title defense.
Wow.
Yeah, that was a wonderful, wonderful fight. Now, they're supposed to run it back, Stormy, in 1942. But Billy Conn wound up breaking his hand and his clavicle muscle when he had a fight with his wife, Mary's father. He had a fight with his father-in-law. And what had happened, they had a child. See, Mary was 18 years old, and she was 16 years old when they got married. They eloped. And they wound up having a christening for the child in the house. And Mary's father was very popular. He used to play for the Pittsburgh Pirates. And he invited the mayor and everyone else to come over. And they say it was a setup to get Billy Conn to come to the house because Billy Conn would never go to that house. So the back door was locked. Billy Conn was trying to escape through the back door, and Mary's father pinned him in the kitchen. And they wound up fighting up and down the stairs from the first floor to the basement. And Billy Conn broke his hand, so they couldn't fight in 1942. Instead, the fight went to Buddy Bear. And that was Lewis's last fight before the war.
Man.
But this was a fight. Some night of boxing, I'll tell you.
Yeah, that was really amazing. And just watching, you know, because Joe was always aware that he could open up. You know, like you said, he was carrying him, but Conn did make a match of it. You know, it was like he was putting forth an effort in there.
Yes, he was. Now, the next time they would fight would be June 19th, 1946 at New York's Yankee Stadium. Billy Conn would be knocked out in 8 rounds, 2 minutes and 19 seconds. Once again, the referee was Eddie Joseph. They had 45,266 members in the audience, and they would gross $190,000. Amazing. Joe Louis weighed 207 pounds, and Billy Conn this time weighed 187 pounds. That's his true weight. And Joe Louis would knock out Billy Conn in 8 rounds. Incredible saga between these two men. If anyone has any questions, please put them in the chat. Stormy, what do you think about the fight tonight?
Man, I think that this was a classic fight of styles, as well as, you know, the dynamic of a middleweight trying to take on the heavyweight champion of the world. But it also showed that what Joe would have problem with in boxing, someone who was fleet of foot, who had great ring mobility and could box, utilize the jab, decent hand speed. And we saw that when we saw Jersey Joe get in there with Joe that first time. Am I right?
Yeah. Yes, that is correct. That is correct. And the thing with Joe Louis, although he had very fast hands, but the thing with Joe Louis, he needed a target that would actually fight with him. And when you gave him that, you went. If you move from side to side, it can be a long night. Now, it didn't mean he wouldn't get rid of you, because he has done that with many other fighters. You had a fighter by the name of Johnny Paycheck and others who ran away, who moved from side to side, and so on and so forth. But with Billy Conn, I don't believe he took Billy Conn seriously. And like I said, I believe he kind of carried him a little bit. Maybe he was trying to get him to slow down, take him into deep waters. But the things that he should have done in there, he didn't do, and it caused a long night. But boy, when he got cooking, what a combination puncher was Joe Louis. And hats off to Billy Conn. But yeah, that was a very good fight.
Yeah, so we'd like to open it up for the chat a little bit now. If you guys have questions that you'd like to ask Scrapbook, not just on this particular fight, but if you have something in general that you'd like to ask, you know, now's the time. This was a moment in history that, a lot of people made. They made a lot of comments about this particular fight, and it was more or less that they, when a fighter is as dominant that Joe Louis was at the time, they look for chinks in your armor. And so they were like, oh, he almost had him. And nobody was really thinking from the standpoint of like what Scrap just mentioned, that Joe was really basically carrying this guy. Because if he had opened up like that by round 3 or 4, the fight wouldn't have gone anywhere.
Exactly. Yeah, as I look at this fight again, Stormy, I'm more convinced that was what was happening. Because there were so many opportunities that he could have gotten rid of Billy Conn. Like I said, Billy Conn was 169 pounds. They have him registered at 174 pounds. But he was really 169 pounds. He was fast on his feet. He was a boxer. However, Joe Louis didn't have any problems fighting men like him as far as his weight and his punching power and so on and so forth. So I can't see why. When I'm looking what Joe Louis is doing, you can easily see that he is kind of carrying the man. That's just from my eye test.
You know what it was like, Scrap? It was like when Ali fought Foster, and Foster was like, he was in there, he cracked Ali with that right hand, and Ali was like, okay.
Yeah.
And then he turned it up, and it was, a separation between, huh?
Yeah. No, you're right. You see the difference when Joe Frazier was there with him.
Right.
Took it right to him.
Yeah, man. But see, that's the thing. That's why we love these fights, man. We love to revisit the history of the sport and to be able to take in what was always referred to as the sweet science. What I really loved about watching Joe in this fight, even though he was not turning it up against Conn, his shots were so short though. You didn't see wind up punches that you see now so often, and technique is so important because you get the proper leverage on shots. And remember, when Conn finally went down from those shots that you spoke of, Scrapbook, he didn't even move. He went down like in a heap. He was done. Yeah. And like you said, those shots and how they were placed, in vital areas, but the leverage that he got on it, the torque and the power that he put, just turning his hips and waist into the shots, not drawing his arms back, but just getting them off from the shoulder and the hip. I mean, it's beautiful when you go back and you look at it and look at the technique.
Exactly. And Stormy, this is 13 rounds.
Yeah.
This is not the 6th. This is not the 7th or 8th. This is the 13th round. It shows you one moment in a fight with Joe Louis and the fight is over. That was amazing. That was amazing. It was very much so. Salute to Jeff from New York out there saying, Stormy B-Man and Scrapbook Boxing, salute. Peace. Yeah, salute.
Appreciate you. Seen and unseen fell in there saying salute OG, Stormy B-Man, salute to OG, Scrapbook Boxing, and salute to the chat family. Going back to some of the people that we've had in the building. We had William Old School out there, Big Homie Coop.
Shout out.
Yes, sir. Geo James Khalil is out there. Kwee is out there. Dwayne Jones.
Oh, my sister.
And
Sister Kwee.
we got there. Grail Sobel is out there saying them uppercuts though. Talking about Joe Louis's uppercuts.
Yes.
Who else we got there? We got MPWTF in the building. Dwayne Jones.
Peace.
David Scott III is out there. 88 Sports Talk was in the building.
Oh, peace.
Of course, we had Drew Titan who had a super chat out there. We had CB Sports TV was in the building. Salute to CB.
Oh, CB Sports, peace. My brother Carl Burrell.
Yes, and T-Berry's out there as well. Jason
Peace.
William is out there. Appreciate you, Jason.
Oh, much love. Appreciate your time. Appreciate your time.
Jay Stubbs out there. Curtis Price. Antonio MMA.
Peace. I appreciate everybody. Stormy, who was the brother that requested this show again? You remember?
Oh man.
I just want to shout him out.
Yeah, I do not remember his name off the top of my head.
Okay. Just know we did it for you, brother.
Yeah, and you know what? I don't think he was out there tonight either.
Okay. Well, if he probably looking for us on Tuesday, but if he looks at this show, just understand you requested it and we came through for you.
Yes, sir. And that's another thing to pass on to you guys in the chat, that we do take requests on these fights because we want to talk about what you want to hear us comment on. So do not be afraid to put it out there. Hey, can you guys talk about this fight or whatever? So
absolutely,
you know, because we want to be interactive with you, we want to make sure that we take that time out to acknowledge what your interest is in the sport. And that could be modern day fighting, or it could be days of old like what we just saw this evening. So just know that when you're talking about Scrapbook doing his presentation, there's so much that he can cover. This dude, he hasn't even scratched the surface with this. Jay Gibson is out there saying salute to Stormy B-Man, Scrapbook, and the family. Andrew Gray is out there as well. Angie Wise Fool in the building saying blessed wishes. Appreciate you, Angie Wise. Haven't seen you in a minute. And Big Homie Coop says that fight was a great example of how you should never do too much. Conn learned the hard way.
Yeah, perfect.
Absolutely,
Exactly
Big Homie Coop. Absolutely, man.
Yeah, Big Homie Coop. Absolutely right. Exactly.
Yeah, that's and again, this is what we talk about when we say that you can learn from the sport. You know, there's so many things that you could talk about, you could, review or whatever, but some of the time, and hey, you know what? There's a great example of this most recently, but the fight only ended up being around and a little bit over around. The recent Bitter Beef and Joe Smith fight. Now, Joe Smith, he went out there and he opened up against Bitter Beef without any regard for the dangers of leaving yourself open against a fighter like Bitter Beef. Had he been more precise in being calculating, he could have probably extended the fight. But he gave an open door to a more keen and aware Bitter Beef who took advantages of his mistakes. See, that's some of the things, like when a fight like that takes place and people say, oh, he got blown out. But Joe Smith could have fought like that against a lot of guys. But this was not the guy to fight like that against. Am I right, Scrapbook?
Correct. He was vulnerable to the uppercut. He kept up and down. He didn't use the jab as he should have. It seemed like he was a little punch shy. And that basically did it with him. That's really what happened with him. And it's just unfortunate for him, It is what it is, man. That's what boxing is all about. Boxing is basically putting your hands up against another man and do not change. You show your true identity when you're in front of him. You're literally undressed in that ring. And that's what it was with him. He showed what he was about when he was up against a man that intimidated him. And it was just cut and dry situation.
Yeah, and so many people don't see that. It's amazing what people are looking at when they're looking at boxing. But of course, yourself and myself, we kind of see some things because we're looking in a different direction. But when you get it, when that light switch goes off and you understand that, that makes all the difference in the world. Because just because a guy has a big, powerful punch doesn't mean he's going to win.
That's correct.
And we've seen that so many times, but Bitterbeef in this fight with Smith, he was definitely a puncher, and they were talking about, when I say they, I'm talking about the commentators leading up to the fight. They were building that up like, oh, this is going to be a bang fest. This is going to be two punchers going at it. No, somebody has to be a little smarter. And on this night, it was Artur Bitterbeef. I talked about it during the interview I did with Iceman Scully on Tuesday. I said when the bell rang and Artur saw that Smith rushed across the ring at him like he did, I said I really wanted to know what you guys were thinking in the corner, because when I saw Artur get on his toes a little bit and kind of go to the side and give some movement, I was like, oh. I said, see, now this is something. They never anticipated that. I think they thought he was just going to drop his guard and go for it too and give Smith some opportunity. But no, he gave him angles. And as soon as Smith overcommitted with something, he was ready for the counter, ready to let him have it and make him pay.
Let me tell you an example of what you just said. Same thing happened in Madison Square Garden. I happened to be at this fight. It was with Triple G and David Lemieux. Now, a lot of people thought that was going to be a Mack truck fight, but it turns out that Triple G decided to box. They didn't think that was going to happen. And I saw a similar situation in this fight with Smith and Bitterbeef.
Yes.
Bitterbeef decided to box. They didn't think he could do that. And it seemed like Smith was undressed in the ring. He had nothing to... He couldn't answer that. He had nothing else to offer.
Yeah, and
he
makes...
became intimidated, and that was it for him.
And it makes a difference when a guy boxes, because when you box, you can slow the fight down to your pace because you're the one boxing.
Yes.
And then you can see things more clearly. A guy who's wading in is just like a person who has gotten in the pool but doesn't have a lot of swimming experience, and they can get panicky in the waters, right? And it's like you're thrashing about, and it's the same thing in boxing. See, if Smith had approached that a different way, maybe he could have got a shot in that hurt Bitterbeef or something like that, because you slow the pace down, the guy don't know what you have, you're making him try to figure you out like you're figuring him out. But no, when you go just running in there, I remember Ferdy Pacheco talking about, I think it was the Mike Tyson and Peter McNeely fight, when he said that McNeely was running out there to take his whooping as fast as he can.
Yeah. Yes.
Ferdy Pacheco was funny, man, when he was doing commentary. Yes. He was funny. But it was true. It's like you run out there like that, and you run into somebody who is experienced and know what they're doing, and you really don't. You get that type of result.
Well, this is how you can tell. He tried to take a play away from Mike Tyson, speaking of Peter McNeely, because he knew that he didn't belong in there with Mike Tyson. He wanted to try and get it over with by attacking Mike Tyson. And it seems like that's what Smith tried to do with Bitterbeef. It seemed like that's what David Lemieux tried to do with Triple G. And when you see a fighter do that, you know two things. He's afraid of you, and he doesn't really have a game plan. And all you have to do is just do what you do, and he'll reveal himself within that same round, in a matter of a few seconds, because he doesn't have a plan B.
Yeah. So, I just want to say, hey, Scrap, this was great, man. You reviewing this classic fight, Joe Louis against Billy Conn.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here, brother. It's like the pleasure's all mine. Any final thoughts as we get ready to wrap things up?
Well, sure. Like I said, Joe Louis wound up fighting Billy Conn again in 1946, and he would get rid of him in 8 rounds this time. Billy Conn weighed 187 pounds. Joe Louis was 207. And that Joe Louis showed up that particular evening. It was after the war, and that was the first fight that Joe Louis would have after his fight with Abe Steinman and Buddy Bear in 1941 and 1942. So it was a great night of boxing. I appreciate everyone for showing up and supporting this evening, and look forward to some more fights in the future.
Yes, sir. And I look forward to being here with you for that ride, man. This is so much fun for me. I feel like a kid sitting here. You know, it's like I said, I like to let you, you know, do your thing, and I'm just sitting here for the ride. I'm in class like everybody else, man, and I'm not ashamed to say it. You know what I mean? So I love your and appreciate your knowledge and what you're able to share and how you're able to set the table, so to speak, so we all can dine. That's some good stuff there, Scrap. I have to take my hat off for that, man. But
well, you know the wonderful thing about this, Stormy? The wonderful thing, I'm just sitting back on the couch talking. I'm not looking at anything. I just try to remember what I know and put it into a storyline if I can. And hopefully someone gets something out of it. Now, I know you were saying there was some difficulty with audio. Hopefully it got better as we went on. I'm not sure.
It did. It did, because I'm listening to the playback in my earpiece. It did get better. It dropped out. It was kind of low. And then when I turned my earpiece up, I could hear you better. And then it dropped out for a few seconds. And, you know, but then when I spoke to you about it and you just, you know, I noticed that it did change. And I turned my my microphone toward the laptop more so it could just pick up much better. So, and it did. So.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Great. Okay, wonderful. Wonderful. Well, thanks everyone for showing up tonight. We do appreciate it. And, you know, try to give us some suggestions. Otherwise, we're going to go ahead and we're going to choose something that we feel that you would like. We do appreciate your time. And see you next week. Or see you the next time we do the show.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And thanks, everybody, again. I second that. Please smash that like button. It says we got 50 likes, which is pretty cool for this Thursday night. And because a lot of people may have been looking for us earlier in the week, but we made a little switch around simply because Iceman Scully made himself available for the Tuesday tussle and had to take advantage of that while we had the chance. But thanks for everybody out there. Thanks for the super chat donations. Thank you guys that'll be catching it on the replay. And just know that we're here to do this for you. We present this content for you, man, to give you something that's refreshing. And it doesn't just have to always be the fights from that era. It can be the fights from the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, you know. So we're prepped and ready to go. But we will be taking some requests. But in the interim, if there are no requests, we'll come up with something great for you in the meantime anyways. So this is Stormy B, man, and for my man Scrapbook Boxing, this has been another historical boxing conversation with Scrapbook, and we're going to head on out. Hope everybody enjoy the rest of their evening and have a great weekend coming up. We'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace.
Peace.